Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We have started the review of issue 1 through 20. Let's. I don't want. Okay, so unfortunately, the stream's title is incorrect. Um, I don't think I can edit that while streaming. Um, do we have anybody out there? Doo-doo-doo-doo. Is there any way to edit this? Um, is anyone out there? Anybody watching? We do have people watching. All right. What's up, guys? So, unfortunately, I don't like the title, but the title is what it is. There's only so much I can do with that. I tried to edit it beforehand, but apparently YouTube doesn't want to play nicely, and so yeah, I have no idea what's going on there. But we are live and we are ready to go. So I'll probably chit chat a little bit before. Well, and Hawk's sober too, so that's pretty impressive, Hawk, that you're sober. You must have slept in a bit today. So hey, VG, how you doing? So we have Mikey and Hawk and VG, and so we are rocking and rolling. And we have Michelle. I work with Michelle, so that's pretty awesome. And her son will be coming along as well. So this is going to be pretty awesome. I'm pretty excited and stoked for this. Um, I've used to, those that have been around for a while, Mikey, you know for sure. And Hawk, I think you came into some, and VG, I know you were in some. I used to stream quite a bit, and I haven't streamed for a long time, so pretty geeked up and excited about it for whatever reason. I'm like a little bit jittery and nervous, but it should all go pretty well. So yeah, it's all good, and we'll probably wait for just a few minutes, and then we will go ahead and get fired into some of the kind of finer details, and then kind of start going through stuff and that kind of stuff. So we'll just wait and see if we get a few more people in, and I'll go on with my presentation, as it were. So, yeah, um, hopefully this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm figuring it's going to be at least 2 hours because of the fact that the video I did, which I compressed down. Hey, there we have True Flat too, and he's in here. Welcome, True. And so the video I did for this was ended up being like an hour and 40 minutes or so. Eric, how you doing, buddy? And that was compressing down 20 hours and 36 minutes or something like that of actual video content that I compressed down to just kind of make a review video. It's sped up ridiculously fast, but I want to make sure that it shows off all of the details. If I happen to randomly mute myself quickly, just be aware that I am suffering a bit of a cold, and I might go into some sort of coughing fit. I've taken like 3 different types of medicine, so hopefully that'll help out. Hopefully I'm not too terribly nasally. My sinuses are fairly clear now between taking a Benadryl and some decongestant and then some Mucinex. I should be able to get going for quite a while. So this should be all good. I've got my books, a couple of my uh, I got the visual encyclopedia that came out, I think, after, either after or just before The Force Awakens. I don't have whatever the latest one is. And then I've got one that I got at one of my daughter's book fairs at school when she was in middle school. I've got the Journey to the Force Awakens, absolutely everything you need to know Star Wars guide, so that should be pretty cool too. So we've been going for 5 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, and anybody that comes in after that can go ahead and catch up to where we're at. So one of the things I wanted to kind of do is do a bit of a breakdown because I had people ask about this, and that was a breakdown of what all the details of what I have done in the video in the process as well. So you can see that I've got a total of 37 build videos. Um, any one issue, the most videos in any one issue is 5. I have 100 total of 114 total video captures to make those 37 videos. The total video time is 20 hours and 36 minutes, as I mentioned. My total build time is 65 hours and 49 minutes. So, um, good to hear, Smoke. I'm glad you got that uh, downloaded and everything. Well, hello there, Jude. Lovely having you here. So, my average video time is 33 minutes and 25 seconds, or yeah, 33 minutes 25 seconds. That's build video time, not does not incorporate the bonus videos that I do. My shortest issue is 16 minutes and 40 seconds, and I had to put that here because you'll see as we go through here, most of these are pulling from other fields, and some reason I could not get it to actually pull this, so I manually typed it in down below. My longest issue total video time is 3 hours and 22 minutes. So 5 videos took 3 hours and 22 minutes. That's pretty obnoxious. I've put in a total of 109 screws so far, and I've glued a total of 349 pieces. Now, some of this is as far as glued, some of that's estimate because I didn't start counting some of this stuff until probably issue 14 or something, 12 maybe, and I had to go back and start going through all the issues and start counting different things. So I may be off by plus or minus 10 or so. Used 2 bottles. I'm on my second bottle of glue right now. On my third can, technically fourth can of primer, I've got 2 different cans of primer that I'm using at the moment. They're slightly different shades, so sometimes I just paint with the primer, and that's what I use. Hey there, Alan. How you doing, Plasman? So yeah, sometimes I just use the primer, and that's the color I'm going with. I don't need to paint over it, and so like the archways and stuff like that, I just use that as the base color. I've used at least 130 micro brushes, probably more like 140. And I've used about 25 pipe cleaners, maybe. Actually, it's probably more like 40 pipe cleaners because I've got 2 different pipe cleaners. I've got regular pipe cleaner, and then I've got one that's got some like copper pieces woven into it, and that's what I used when I cleaned my airbrush and that kind of stuff. So, and then finally, I've used a total of 4 X-Acto blades. Um, Now we can get into the issue breakdown. So this is where I'm going to break down like all the specific issues, and so I got the issue topic, the total video count for each issue, um, and then like I said, I put the issue topic in here, and then the completion time, and this is the not the video time, but the total time it took me to do this video. I believe is what I came up with that. Um, yeah, so then you got your video capture time here, uh, and then the total video time there. And then I've counted the screws, and these counts pull into this other field here for my screw count. And then likewise, the same thing for the glued parts pulls in there. I went ahead and started putting in any specific materials that I'm using when I'm painting or working. So like the for sale sign, I built some of the stuff with the for sale sign. I'm using modeling putty. I've got some scrap parts. I'm bought some styrene pieces. Uh, tube styrene. That's the little like um, the square pieces of styrene that I've used and whatnot. And the styrene is like a name for plastic. Then one of the more unusual between the for sale sign and the manila folder, those are probably the two most unusual things that I've used so far. I've annotated all the different colors of paint. Probably the most common color of paint that I've used, or used the most often, is German gray. So German gray is the color that I've chose to do for basically all the interior parts, the walls and the floor and corridors and all that kind of stuff. It's actually darker than what it probably should be for the Millennium Falcon, but it's just the color I kind of decided to go with. I've used a lot of this wood leather, wood brown and leather brown. That's what I use for the little pieces for supposed to be the cushions on the archways and all that kind of stuff. So that's the color I've used for that. And then here I break down all of the bonus video times. My longest is my most recent, I believe, is 33 minutes and 49 seconds. So that's by far the longest one. And I added in Lady Di had requested back when I talked about the Tie Fighters, and I mentioned some of the other Tie Fighter types, and she said, it'd be really great if you actually put in some pictures of some of these other Tie Fighters, and so that way we could have some context to the names and whatever. So when I was talking about the Star Destroyers, I decided to do that in that bonus video, and yeah, Judah loves the manila folder installation trick. Yeah, that one just kind of, I was sitting there thinking about it. I'm like, manila folder is the right color. I just have to figure out how to make it look like insulation. So that was like the big challenge. Again, I count the total number of episodes here. My total video time gets counted there. My average video time and total video bonus video time is counted here. These are just my multipliers. This is my multiplier for my time. So then I can break it down by total minutes and total seconds, and then my average seconds. So not that those are important, but I can, say 1,236 minutes have been used for this, and so it's a really big number, and it sounds pretty impressive. This is where I break down the actual videos that I publish. And so any that have just a single video, you're only going to see that in the under vid one time. Any that have multiple videos, you'll see those through here. So I've got two issues that I did 5 videos for, and that was issue 8 and issue 13. And then I've got the one that I had 4 videos for, and then a couple for 2 videos, and then one with 3 videos. Um, and so then I count up the total time in this column for the total time it takes for that specific issue, not for the videos total, right? It's actually the total video time, but it's for the issue and that kind of stuff. And then I calculate the minutes and the seconds here. If we come into the total time, this is the time for each video capture that I've done. So on issue 13, which had 5 videos, issue 13, I actually had 18 video captures, and some of them were as short as 6 minutes, that kind of stuff. But you know, you'll notice most of my kind of first video. Well, I guess not most of them. A lot of my first videos are going to be fairly short. We have 6 minutes and 8 minutes, 2 minutes, 7 minutes, that kind of stuff. So that's usually like when I'm just kind of thumbing through the magazine, kind of figuring out what we're supposed to be doing, and then a lot of the times it's like, oh, I have to cut out these pieces, I have to trim them, and all that kind of stuff, and kind of move on from there. So usually I just cut the video right there because I'm going to be doing some stuff off camera, whether it's just going and cleaning the parts so I can get them primed or whatever. So those videos quite often can be fairly short. But then, once I get done, then I come back and do some longer second videos to fill those out. So I actually had one video that was only 34 seconds. So one of the interesting things is partway through this, and I'm going to say it was somewhere around, it was in issue 7, sometime after my second capture video that I did for issue 7. I actually upgraded my phone from a GS9 to a GS20, and one of the things that you'll notice, and the reason why you can tell that, is because with the GS9, I could capture a single video, could be captured, that was 38 minutes and 48 seconds long. After that, the longest video time that a GS20 will capture is 33 minutes and 11 seconds. It'll keep going, but there's usually about a 2 to 3 second break in between, and it splits it into a multiple videos. So you'll see, like, this is 33 minutes 11 seconds. This 1 minute and 39 seconds came after, like, they were recorded at the same time. It's just the my phone itself splits them up into two different videos. So that does kind of create a little bit of a editing issue, because I have to try to make up for these couple seconds split where it's actually not saved. So sometimes there's kind of like an artificial cut in there. Other times it just happens to work out that I'm being fairly quiet or something, so I'll just kind of cut out a middle section of me doing something rather monotonous and put in one of my hyperspace transitions to fill the gap. But that's one of the interesting things that I've had to kind of work with going through stuff. I haven't done any supplemental videos other than building the one that I'm going to show here in a few minutes. That would be a supplemental video for sure. So way too much work, Drew says. Yeah, it is a lot of work, and that is for sure. Uh, so section D might be in this one. No, this one here. Hawk was wanting to know if section D was the time it took um, for each section. That is the total time it took for that issue when I did it. So uh, in one of these, I actually figure out where was it? It might be in here, maybe. Yeah, here. So one of the things I did was I started calculating my total off-camera time, and some of these happened sometime after basically because of the fact I wasn't really tracking all of this information from the beginning, I had to go back and kind of review the videos that I was doing and kind of estimate, okay, I did this and this and this off camera. About how much time did that take me? So you'll notice most of the time I round up to, like, you know, a good solid number. Then other times, so like you see a lot of like full hours and that kind of stuff. So a lot of this in the beginning is just estimates of I worked an extra hour off camera or something, and so that's that includes when I'm airbrushing and that kind of stuff, because airbrushing itself does not take very long. Prime it, let the primer dry. I can go back and do something else while the primer's drying. Like, we're talking 30 seconds to prime something usually. Let the primer dry about 20 minutes to 30 minutes, and then come back and airbrush it. Airbrushing it, I'm usually just doing solid colors, so that doesn't take very long either. It's the cleanup after the airbrushing that takes forever, because if you don't get it clean, then you're gonna that additional paint that's left in there is going to taint the whatever the following color is that you're going to use. So I have to be very meticulous in cleaning that, and especially when I'm done airbrushing, I have to be very meticulous, because otherwise the airbrush will get clogged up and just won't work. So yeah, that there's a lot. Anytime I have to do any kind of airbrushing, there's a lot of extra time that goes into that. So that's how I calculate my total time per issue. Is some of it is like I said, probably somewhere around issue 12 or 14 is when I had to kind of go back. I started actually calculating it myself, and then I had to go back and figure out what they were. But you notice issue 15. Um, is that issue? I think that's issue 14. Yeah, issue 14. I spent 8 hours off camera doing that, and issue 14 we had a total of only 4 videos in issue 14, and I did 8 hours off camera just trying to put that together. And a lot of that is like some monotonous stuff. Um, uh, issue 14 was probably, I think that was the one that um, I think that might have been the one that I built the extra kind of the first bump out for the in the cargo hold, with that extra tube and all that kind of stuff. One of the reasons why there was so much extra time was the first time I masked the tube that was going to be the pipe in there. My mask job wasn't very good, and the paint bled through, and so it looked like crap. So I had to clean that up and basically start over. And so that added a lot of extra time to do that. And I'm not going to show the hour and a half it's taking me to go and mask off those lines and those little squares and stuff when I did that pipe, because I mean the video would have been so long, and I'm guessing that you guys probably wouldn't want to watch that. It'd be pretty boring. But yeah, so uh, I try to do any of that really monotonous stuff off camera because I'm guessing you guys aren't going to enjoy watching that. So um, this was something that I've been wanting to kind of really share and break down to you guys because I know a lot of people have been asking. So I wanted to really kind of break it all down for you. I think one of the things I'm going to try to do, if I can remember, is whenever I do the bonus videos for each issue where I'm talking about the magazine, I'll try to break this stuff down for that specific issue. I'll give a review of now what is my total video time, what is my total build time up to, and then I'll go into the issue breakdown and kind of talk about these. This is the time that we've done total videos, and then how many pieces I've glued, how many screws I put in, that kind of stuff. So I'll break them down each video. So if I do another review, I won't have to do this like big long-winded review of everything that I've done here. So with that, let's go ahead and get into this video that I worked 2 weeks to put together. And so let's go ahead and get into that. So that way you guys can really enjoy it. All right, so right out the gate, I've kind of broken this out by um, in order of issues, but also in the order in which I tried to keep like all the sections together. So um, I wanted to keep like all of the cockpit pieces parts together, all of the cargo hold sections together, or interior parts, and then I do the frame and that kind of stuff. So very first issue, we start off with the gun turret, and so I went through and had to sand all the pieces. I wanted to make sure that when they do the molding process, it's two pieces together and they inject it with whatever the material is that they're molding with, and um, so I wanted to make sure that all those seams are cleaned off and that kind of stuff. So when I had the final product, which I haven't painted this yet, I will be painting it at some point, but I've got a long time before this is actually going to be put into place and needs to be really presentable. But I went ahead and cleaned all the seams and all that kind of stuff. And this was something I actually had in the video. Um, but I think even in the video, I probably sped it up. And I think this is actually like 8 times speed of the actual video. So it's really trying to cruise through. And I can tell you by the time I was done sanding this, both hands were cramped up, just trying to hold the piece and hold my file and all that kind of stuff. So that way I could get it sanded, and that kind of stuff. So, um, this was a lot of work for the fact that there was by the time I was done, there wasn't really anything to show off. But I didn't have I put it together, but I didn't have a fully painted piece that was actually in on the Falcon in any way. And so, but I kind of decided if I was going to do this, I wanted to make sure that I did it correctly. So here I'm showing the Jarek table, and this was kind of a big mess. So it started off the first time I built my I put my tape on and all that kind of stuff. It was horribly done and very um, kind of messed up and whatever. So I had to take it all off, clean it off, and then put it back on. And after I touched it up, I think it came out really well. But here I am. I'm working on in the cockpit and doing the seats. This is the absolute first time I've ever tried to do any kind of detail painting and with the dry brushing and all that kind of stuff. Absolute first time I ever did it. Like when I was younger and I did a lot of like car models and that kind of stuff. I didn't really do like any kind of serious detail painting. It was you paint this piece orange because it's the engine, or you paint the body like one solid color, and then you apply, the bumpers and all that kind of stuff and the wheels. So this was the absolute first time ever that I had done anything for any kind of a detailing or anything like that. Um, Yeah, that is the table, the Jarek table where where Chewbacca and R2 play hollow chess. Everybody calls it hollow chess. The actual name is Dejarek. It's Djarek or something like that. But yeah, so in episode 4, A New Hope, that's where they're playing, and C3PO says, um, you know, says, but I don't know what he's all upset for. It was a fair move, and Han Solo says, it's not nice to, or it's not good to upset a Wookiee. Well, nobody worries about upsetting a droid. Well, that's because a droid doesn't rip your arm off. And then he turns to R2 and says, "New strategy, R2. Let the Wookiee win." Which coincidentally, I'm wearing my Wookiee of the Year T-shirt. If you guys haven't seen that in any of my push-up videos, that's what I'm wearing today. Let the Wookiee win. Um, So yeah, again, all of these videos are at least double time speed. Um, trying to go through it and wanted to be able to show off a lot of the stuff that I've done, but not make it so monotonous. Here again, this was another first for me. This whole process has been a lot of firsts for me. So I had never. This is what they call in the biz. They call this uh, what do they call it? They call it something. um, Doing a wash. They do it like a tinting wash, and uh, so the you kind of wet down a paint or some sort of tinting agent, and you use that to it'll fill the little crevices and stuff with color. And then sometimes you can kind of come back after you get it kind of put on there and let it dry a little bit. You can come back and wipe it off with a paper towel. I didn't do that with this. I just wanted to kind of see how it came out because I figured the worst that could happen is I'd just go back and paint over it with the airbrush. Not a huge deal. As long as you go light enough with the airbrush, you can paint over it with no problem. Uh, if I had to yawn, Judah, I could give you a pretty good Wookiee impression. Some reason when I yawn, I can really break out the good Wookiee impression. So, uh, yeah, I'm so fast. The push-ups have given me extra arm speed. Yeah, that's so true. So here, what I'm doing is, so after you do the wash to kind of, you wanted the wash to get down in the crevices, and it's usually the darker color that you want to use. And then you come back with a lighter color, and you're going to add those light highlights to the kind of the raised sections to really kind of it adds a whole lot of extra depth to different things, and so that's what I'm doing here. Is I'm doing a very dry brush, and you can see I'm dipping it in the paint, but then I'm wiping pretty much all of it off, and so I'm just barely putting any paint onto this at all. And so it's, the ribs on the seat, it helps those come out. You put it like on the edges, and that all that kind of stuff really helps the edges kind of pop and that kind of stuff. So again, first time I've ever done this, and there was the finished product. You can, from it up close, you can kind of see the different brush details, but from like a normal distance, it works out pretty well. And so this is where I've started putting everything together, and I'm just kind of showing off how the cockpit came together. Now I do add some additional painting as I go, and then next to it, that's my brother's stock one that he just slapped together. He didn't do anything special to it. And so you can see after painting it and touching it all up what the difference actually is from the stock one that they ship you. So I feel like it was definitely well worth it to do that extra effort. And then this is the archway that's going to go over the top. And so they just have stickers. And I think I've mentioned this before in some of my other videos. You can go in and you can actually go in and purchase like uh, laser etched like copper pieces and that kind of stuff, and it's got like holes for all the different light sections and stuff, and then you can run all these fiber optic colored lights and everything, which just seems like, I mean, I'm already doing a boatload of work to this. Um, that just seemed like way too much extra effort for me to do. Like I said, I've already spent 65 hours and I'm only 1/5 of the way done with this model. So if I were to have to go through and do all of that extra work, that would just be even more. Plus, it's not going to be a showpiece. You're only going to be able to see so much of the cockpit as it is. So I felt like just the stock uh, cockpit piece and archway was just going to be more than good enough for what I needed to do. Um, but yeah, so this is just putting the sticker on. And now the one thing I will say about this arch piece, it fits in really, really weird. It doesn't like snap into a certain spot, doesn't fit into a certain spot. You just kind of set it in place. And that part there is like probably the only real disappointment I have with this model is the way that this fits into place. It's got you can see the kind of rib around the one edge, and that rib makes sure that it fits into um, the exterior part of the passageway. It fits into that, so it kind of notches into place, and so that part works fine. But the fact that it just kind of floats there with the rest of the cockpit makes it kind of weird. And so here I am, I'm reattaching the sticker. It kind of pulled up, but so I put a little bit of glue on it, and then now I'm putting the throttle pieces, and these are the pieces that Han will use when he goes into hyperdrive and he pulls them back or pushes them forward, whatever. Um, uh, so those, obviously add some pretty good detail because you're there. It's a 3D piece that you're putting in, and really helps add some a level of detail when you're looking into the cockpit. And so getting these put in was pretty cool. They're a small little detail piece. I got to try to get this one lined up the way I need it. There we go. And I've even gone back, I believe, and kind of added some black paint to some of the like the yoke and that kind of stuff to kind of put in some details just with a little bit of paint. And you can see there the side panels that I painted there. Um, they're mirror images of each other, so I just needed to make them look different from each other, and so I just painted some different stuff on there to kind of add some details. And here you go with the lighting. If you recall, I used the tinted coloring to put on the back. That helps kind of brighten up the coloring, and it doesn't just rely on what's in the on that sticker to get the color to come through. And then here I'm putting in the bench. So this was something that I definitely wanted to do very specifically because I wanted to make sure that the bench was representative of what was actually in the Falcon, because the way the model was, it's got a back that goes all the way around this um, horseshoe bench. But in reality, in the movies, like every movie, there's no back on that section there. So I needed to seal off that section. I could have put putty in there and all that kind of stuff, but I wanted to try doing this, build this out with. This is where I first used the for sale sign, and I wanted to try to build this out with that for sale sign and make something solid that I can just glue into place. And so that's what I'm doing here. And you know, it really, I really like how it came out. It could have been a little bit better, but I feel like the first time doing anything like this, I think it came out really well. Sorry, I had to cough. So pardon me. Um, so Auto's got a problem with Windows. Somebody's gonna be a PC master. Oh, Drew's, that's right. Drew's building out his PC, his gaming PC, right? So he's getting there. Um, Details equal depth and realism. Well, thank you, Eric. I appreciate that. Yeah, I feel like putting in these extra details. One, even if like nobody really looks into the cargo hold that much, they just see my Falcon and they're like, "Holy crap, that's really cool." From the outside, then that's great. But knowing the extra detail that I'm putting in the cargo hold, that's something that I feel like just knowing myself that I did that and what it looks like and all that kind of stuff, I can be proud of. And of course, sharing with all you guys and knowing that you guys are appreciating the extra effort that I'm putting into it definitely helps make it worthwhile as well. So, doing all that, just it's I wanted to, if I did it right, or if I did it, I wanted to do it right, and I didn't want to have to, because you can get all of these parts 3D printed, and all that kind of stuff. But in some ways, one, that's crazy expensive to get these parts. But two, it takes some of the fun out of building it for me. I take my time doing it, and you guys have definitely applauded me for the patience that I'm showing, and and doing it. And it's in a lot of ways it's fairly relaxing. I haven't gotten terribly stressed doing this. Even like fumbling with some of the small pieces and stuff doesn't get me terribly worked up either. Uh, Thank you, True. I appreciate that. It's good to know that I'm doing something impressive. And Judah, thank you. I really appreciate that. I've learned a stupid amount here doing this, so hopefully I keep learning and improving. And so I'm doing the little science station here, and I actually masked that thing twice. And I think I talk about it when in that issue, but I actually masked it twice. So I masked just the black part and painted the outside gray, and then I realized I wanted the black part to be shiny. I wanted to paint it with a shiny black, and it was really just a dark gray, and about the same part as that little piece, that little gray piece there. And so I wanted to make it black and shiny, so I masked off the outside and then painted the main part the black shiny, and then I came back and as you can tell, I touched it up with some silver to add some highlights and that kind of stuff. So I feel like that came out pretty good. Just adding some paint to it made all the difference in the world. Uh, well, thank you, Judah. Yeah, the for sale sign was like, I was like, I needed a piece of plastic, and I didn't want to have to go spend like, you can buy a for sale sign for like $1.50. If I were to go buy a piece of actual modeling plastic, it's like $4 or something like that. It's a lot more expensive, and it's the same stuff essentially. So here I am. Wanted to add some details. If you pay attention to anything that shows that section, there's some details on the side of that uh, that area. And so I needed to add some details. I knew I wasn't going to be able to make it perfect because there's different in both ways. Hey, Easy, glad you're able to join us. Appreciate that. Um, so uh, I just needed something, and I wanted something with some crazy details. I used the train truck. I used that, cut the ends off, and then that kind of H piece that I put there. That's just a piece of the sprue that all the pieces come on. I just cut that off and stuck it in between there. Then I put some wires in between. Unfortunately, I've handled it enough. Those wires, I think, have either broken off or what have you. Here I am. In the video, I actually showed me putting in the seats, but in this one, I just kind of showed what it was like after I got all that done. I've done some kind of put some stains and stuff and dirtied up that area. So, because the Falcon is a really dirty thing, so I wanted to put that in there and share it being all dirty and stuff. Here's that wall that goes into. I didn't do a lot of extra stuff with this. I just tried to do most of the extra stuff with the paint, right? So I touched up these two pieces, those two gray pieces. I put some extra paint in there. I did a wash inside that piece I'm pointing at there, and just kind of added some depth. And these pipes, adding those colored stripes was really important to me. Like the first time I saw a picture of from any of that section and it had those colored stripes, I'm like, well, I have to have the colored stripes. I was like, mandatory. It had to happen. So then it was just how am I going to do those color stripes? I don't want to paint it. And I found out that the extra fine tips for Sharpie markers worked perfectly. And just so happened my daughter had a whole, rainbow collection of the different ones. And I used dark blue and a kind of a medium dark red and then a yellow, and just kind of had to figure out where I was going to put the stripes and stuff, and I just drew them on. It worked out really well. So here I am. I'm putting in the one pipe section that has the supports across it and that kind of stuff. So you can see like the extra little black kind of dark sections. Those were touch-up spots. Uh, my paint had I pretty much ran out of the German gray paint, and so I had to kind of thin out what was left, and for whatever reason, when I thinned it out, it got extra dark, and so, but I was fine with that because it just looks like, you know, uh, it just looks like it's some sort of a lubricant spill or something like that. Fits perfectly with the Falcon. I mean, it doesn't have to be a perfect paint job. You don't want it to be a perfect paint job. And so here we are. We're putting this section together, and those are the pipes that came with it. They were super, super shiny. They still look rather shiny, but what I did was I went back and I took some. It's just a matte clear, and it just makes it rough and takes some of the gleam off of it, and I just painted over it, made it look pretty good. Uh, it's just well loved. That's right, VG. It's not dirty. It's just well loved. Yeah. It's. I think Han. If you were to put Han Solo's loves in order, it would be the Falcon would be right up there with number one. I mean, it's kind of a toss up between, like Chewie and Leia are probably pretty close, and then the Falcon is right there. I mean, you could flip a coin on any given day and probably come up with a different answer, which one he loved the most. But the Falcon's definitely one of his true loves. Um, and there, I'm adding in the wires. So I hand drilled in the holes, and so I needed to put the wires in to add this extra detail. And this was something that once I saw the picture with those wires in, I'm like, I have to try to figure out how to do that. So I figured out that I could bend that little thin little plastic piping that I got, that styrene piping, and I figured out how to bend it. And after I figured that out, I'm like, oh, well, this should be easy. It's just a matter of getting the dimensions and everything correct. So here I am. I'm showing how I bent that. And so you just take it, you add some heat, and this stuff just bends like instantly. You don't even have to touch it. The heat makes it bend, so it makes it super easy. Leia would be fifth or sixth on the list. That might be true. That might be true. Very true there for sure. Nice nails. You like my fingernails, do you? Um, and you can always tell like when I've done a lot of painting, I'm pretty messy with my painting. I usually get all the paint all over my fingers and stuff. So there I go. I've got the red one painted and got it cut to size. I'm putting that in. And like instantly that adds a crazy level of detail. Putting that red across there. Um, in reality, the red on that over the bunk section, it went straight up if I remember correctly, but I couldn't just make it go straight up. I mean, so I decided to make it run across the top, so it looked like it was running from one side to the other. So that was a little artistic licensing on my part, but obviously this red and white one, I showed the picture in that issue. So the red and white one definitely goes right there. Um, the picture is where Han Solo's standing there and Leia's in um, the doorway of that little room there. And so now I have to put in the um, those wires that go from one end to the other. And this was, in reality, this one was a lot harder than I thought actually expected it to be. I don't know why, but and incidentally, that blue that I painted this with, this wire piece, that blue, I think, is actually a transparent blue. I didn't realize it until after the fact. I had purchased some other transparent blue. I didn't realize I already had some, but I think that's a transparent blue. I mean, it works out pretty well. It's a much brighter blue than any of the other blues I had, and that's one of the reasons why I use it. I wanted it to really pop out and that kind of stuff. So there we go. We got the blue and the gray wire in. They look pretty good. I'm really happy with how that came out. Putting the seat in was I made sure that my because I was going to and see here's the my German gray that I kind of watered down with a little bit of uh, alcohol and stuff. And so now I'm coming back and I'm just going to touch up this back piece here with that German gray to help hide it. And but I was going to kind of detail out my brother's cockpit and kind of give it to him like on a display or something. And he's like, "Nah, use it. If you want to use it in the cargo hold, then go ahead and do it." So he gave me permission, and I went ahead and put that in there. I thought that was great. Um, and then here I basically took his pieces. Like I've talked about this in my videos. So my brother bought the first 4 months worth, and then he had to change his uh, like he had some fraud on his credit card. So he had to change his credit card. When he did it, it stopped the payments, so he stopped getting the issues, and he didn't even realize it because they were just coming to my parents' house. He was going to work on them later, and then he was like, okay, I just won't get it." He knew he wasn't going to be able to put in the kind of time that I was wanting to do, so he just gave me all of his extra pieces. So that's how I ended up with a bunch of extra pieces for the first 16 issues. And so I took his pieces that this was from the section that I just got done doing, and I cut the hole and made the section for this other bump out. And so um, I cut out the middle section, made sure that the spacing was all correct for these four pieces. And that's why I cut the middle section out so I could squeeze it back together and get the spacing correct. And then glued it all back together. I did put a piece of I cut a little strip of the for sale sign to use as some extra bracing on the bottom, add some extra strength to it. It, yeah, sometimes you're absolutely correct, Eric. Sometimes the hand does work better than a mechanical device. Uh, uh, so I can be more precise with just that little hand. They call it a pin vise. I can be more precise with the pin vise. The one problem is the one drill bit that I have. I have one drill bit that's so freaking small. You flex that thing at all and it breaks. And so I broke it like pretty early on when I was trying to drill the holes in that detail piece that goes on where the bunk space is. When I was trying to put those details on. So this is the section that this is the 8 hour off camera section, and I had to repaint those stripes on that I had to paint it twice. First time it was all bled through and came out like crap, so I had to remask it. And I like the way the masking came out better the second time than the first time anyway. But kind of lessons learned, I suppose. And then now I'm putting together the wall section that goes back behind that, and uh, the that square. I saw that square tubing, and I'm like, that will work perfect for corner braces, because I needed a way to make the corners, and I wanted. I mean, it gives me a perfect 90 degrees anyway, right? So, um, why not use that? So now it's just I can go through and I'm putting the glue all the way around the bottom, so that way when I put the wall in it, I can attach it to the wall. So now that's one piece with the wall, and then it's just a matter of sliding it into place, and making sure that it fits exactly the way I need it to. So I get it kind of where I want it to be and that kind of stuff. And I'm trying to mark for the depth, and so that way now I have to put that corner brace on the sides, and so I'm trying to figure out, okay, where do I need the corner braces to be? That way I can glue the corner braces to the walls there, and then slide it up into place, and then glue it to the main wall. So uh, it's really weird because when you make those corner pieces out of that square tubing, you just cut down the corner, it slides through like butter. You try to cut it for length, it's harder than hell to cut. It's crazy. Um, what's a price on something like this? What would it be? Only a question. So okay, we'll start off with how much I spent total just to buy the model. Just to buy the model was $1,500, broken out over 25 months. So it's an expensive model in and of itself. Then adding in all of the stuff I've purchased to do the model, you could probably add maybe another 100, maybe $120 of paints and all the other stuff that I've purchased. Some of the tools I already had. I have purchased an extra tool here and there. But we're talking $5-10 at the most for these extra tools, and I mean I'm not going to count that for this model because those are things I'll probably use for something else as well. But we're talking about the styrene pieces and the paints and all that kind of stuff. Probably an extra $100. So right now I'm in it somewhere around 100 or 1600, let's say $1,650 for what I've done so far. Um, uh, of course, you can't put a time on, or a price on your time or whatever. If I were to ever build one for somebody, I would have to charge a decent amount of money, just because of the amount of time that I put into it. But theirs would probably end up coming out better than mine because I've learned so much doing it. Even if I tried to make it identical to mine, I've learned a lot about how to do the different sections that I've done. So it'd go a hell of a lot better. Um, yeah, I've had all of these model parts for at least 2 years before I even started putting it together. I started getting the parts like at probably 5 years ago, and I waited until I got all the parts before I was going to put it together, and then uh, I was going to start putting it together, and then basically Fallout 76 came out, and I started playing it instead. So I had to go a year before I decided to go ahead and start working on it. And then here's the last wall of the cargo hold. Um, and so this, I think I talked about this when I did the video, but basically this wall 100% looks like two different wall sections, um, depending on which movie you're watching. So in A New Hope, it looks a certain way. It's solid. It doesn't have the cutouts, but it's got like a bunch of detail attached to the outside. In Empire Strikes Back, it's got this hole cut out, and that's kind of the model I'm using, is Empire Strikes Back. So if I have a choice between one movie or another, I go with Empire Strikes Back. as far as how I'm detailing the Falcon, because that's where you see the most of the interior, really. Um, so I didn't want to do the A New Hope part. And then if you go look in the Force Awakens, that section, this whole thing is opened up completely from where I've cut out all the way to the end, and there's a bunk back there, like a whole nother section, and it goes back probably 6 to 8 feet deep, and then the bunk's there. So if I were to do the Force Awakens, luckily I had my brother's bunk, and I thought about putting that in, but I'm like, that's the wrong movie. I can't do that. So I decided to go with the Empire Strikes Back version. That was what I had done thus far, and so I decided to keep with that. And so um, I get to cut out, these weird shapes and stuff, and add details around it. And I have to say, the way this wall came out in the end, it was like all these parts that, like these extra parts where I'm cutting all this stuff out. I'm thinking about it for like 3 or 4 weeks. Like as I'm doing stuff, I'm like, oh my god, I got to do this wall. And I'm like, am I going to do that? Yes, I'm going to do it. And then it's like, how am I going to do it? I'm just sitting there thinking about it and mulling it over and fretting about it and all that kind of stuff. And it takes me a long time to kind of come up with a plan on how I want to do it. And even like just cutting out those two kind of little window sections, the way I did it the first time, uh, and the way I did it the second time are two different things. And the way I did it the second time came out so much better. So I would do it the way I did it the second time any day of the week again. But it's you learn something as you go, and it works out really well. So now we're putting in the section that has the kind of like that lattice type thing that goes across there. So, of course, I had to build this out completely, and I had to buy the little styrene strips and about two different sizes of styrene strips. You can see the one laying there on the desktop, and so it's probably 3/16 of an inch. And then I get these other pieces that are probably a 16th or so, and that's what I'm putting in here is that lattice section. And they have a tool for modeling called a chopper, and that it's basically like a miter box for cutting model uh, detail pieces and stuff. Uh, yeah, completed are up to $2,000. Uh, so yeah, that makes perfect sense. Um, so if I had a chopper, I could have cut these pieces all the same length, but I didn't, and I was pretty much eyeballing it to try to cut these pieces um, and try to get them all the same length. I was off by you know decent distance. It was 30 seconds, which doesn't seem like much, 30 seconds, but a 30 seconds of an inch, when you're talking about something that's that small, ends up being quite a bit. So when I put the outside part of this lattice piece in place, it's not near as smooth as I would like it to be. I mean, if I were to attach it to each one of those rungs, it would be very wavy. So I just kind of so well, let's just let it do its arch thing and make sure that hopefully each arch part, the inside outside section, are fairly parallel with each other. I mean, as parallel as you can be with a curve, but make sure that they're kind of following each other. And I'll just fill in the gaps. I got modeling putty. I'll just use some modeling putty on it and let those gaps get filled in but so that this was um, one of the reasons why there was so much time off camera because cutting out those little sections and all that kind of stuff was all done off camera. Um, uh, Doing a lot of the putting in the putty, the modeling putty to fill in the sections to kind of neaten up the areas took a lot of extra time off camera. So that's why this one had like 8 hours or whatever. It was either this one or the other one. I can't remember, but this one had quite a few hours off camera as well. Um, Might have been like 4 or 5. But uh, this was one where I think one of the issue or one of the episodes before this or one of the issues before this had like a couple 50-minute, 45-minute videos, and I don't want to have the videos that long. Um, and so I'm guessing you guys probably don't want to watch videos that long, so I'm like, I'll just be better off if I just do shorter videos. So if I do more videos that are shorter, would be better off for you guys to watch, and you guys would probably enjoy it more. So then, like after those long ones, I'm like, all right, if I can't get it to 30, 35 minutes, then I'm just gonna split it into two videos. And so I think it was issue 19. I wasn't sure, and so that's why I had to kind of come back and record a, oh, by the way, I'm doing this in two videos type of commentary because I didn't realize at the time when I was recording that it was going to have to be in two videos. So you'll see that. So there we go. We're getting the lattice all put together the way we want it. Yeah, see, Judah likes the 30-minute. Not, I'm the same way. If I'm watching somebody else's videos, I like them to be about 30 minutes. It's a good time period. Obviously, if you can get something like 15 minutes, great. But I feel like a 15-minute video with this, there would be like no detail, and I'm guessing that you guys want to see the detail that I'm doing. So, um, making sure that that detail's in place, I think, is well worth it. I mean, otherwise, I could just put it all together, go, so this is what I did this time, and just kind of do a review of it. So, like here, I've gone back through and I painted this whole wall with the German gray, and now I'm coming back and hand painting in